So think about how powerful this is. The people who used to sell to us are now competing with us. What's up, guys? We're about to do a talk on how to monetize your influence leveraging social media. And specifically, I'm going to talk about 7 ways to monetize yourself online, leveraging your brand so that you can quantify your worth. Stay tuned. All right, so who am I? Who is George? My picture eventually will pop up, but you already know how I look, so it's okay. All right, so I'm a financial advisor. My office is actually right here in WeWork, so thank you to WeWork for allowing us to leverage the space for this event. I'm the president of Makes Sense to Me Incorporated, which is my financial planning firm. I am the founder of Melanin Money, which is a movement to help 100,000 people of color invest their first $1,000, right? And so far we've helped people invest about $4 million. We have about another $1.4 million in transit. And so the reason why I created that movement is because I wanted wealth building to become accessible. Right? A lot of people feel like they got to have $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 to get started, and you don't. And so we proved that through this movement. We're shifting paradigms every day. And I'm deeply passionate about living my best life. Can somebody cue the song? I'm living my best life. I'm deeply passionate about living my best life and helping others do the same. All right, so business is a numbers game, and you can't win if you don't keep count, right? So if you look at the guys that are going to come speak today, when you look at their followers on social media, I mean, they are blowing me out of the water. Blowing me out of the water, right? But I always tell people I'm not an influencer. I'm just a businessman who understands the value in building an audience, right? I look at it like a formula. Know, like, trust, right? The more people that know you will result in another pool of people that like you, which will ultimately result in another pool of people that trust you. And people that trust you will spend money with you, right? And so that's the formula that I use in order to build my business and leverage online to do it. All right, counting the cost. How many entrepreneurs we got in the room? Whether you're side hustle, full-time, all that jazz, awesome. So if you're anything like me, you're always looking for ways to grow your business, make it more efficient, looking for software, tools, resources, all that good stuff, right? Does that sound familiar? So you go to the website, you look at the features page, you say, man, it syncs with MailChimp. It connects to this, it's going to integrate that, you get super excited, then eventually you got to do what? You got to see how much it costs. And then you got 1 or 2 choices at that point. Either, oh, that's nothing, pull out my card, PayPal, however you decide to pay, or you say, nah, I ain't got it, I can't do it right now, right? So what I want you guys to do before we dive into this presentation is I want you guys to count the cost. So David talked about, what do you want to get out of today, right? So knowing what you want to get out of today. I want you guys, before you talk about growing your business, scaling your business, ask yourself, are you willing to count the cost? Like you're going to hear from G later, right? We already heard from David. And so they've grown some very massive and influential brands, but you got to count the cost. There's a lot of background work. Like you might see the results on social media now, but it's a lot of background work. And you got to be willing to ask yourself, do you want the results of what success looks like, or do you want the background work that comes with it? The value of anything is the amount of life that you're willing to trade for it. So this is the analogy I love using because a lot of times, we don't realize that we always translate what something's value is to a dollar amount, right? So let me ask you a question. So Kyle, how much those shoes cost? $200. All right, congratulations. I'm giving you a job, but the job only pays $10 an hour. You cool with that? No. You're not cool with that? You're gonna be cool with it today. Right? You're taking this job, all right? So let me ask you real quick, how much the shoes cost again? No, they cost 20 hours of your life. You only make $10 an hour, and you're trading 20 hours of your life to purchase the shoes. Right? So the value of anything is the amount of life you're willing to trade for. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be an influencer, how much life are you willing to trade for? Because it's not going to come easy. All right, what does the ideal life in business look like? So one of the first things you want to do is you want to map your business ambition to your lifestyle ambition, okay? On social media, you see a lot of people say, I'm a work from home, work from the beach, sipping Mai Tais, enjoying my life, all that good stuff, right? But then they also want to build the next Facebook. How's that work? It doesn't, right? You have to ask yourself, what kind of business do I want to build, and does that align with the lifestyle that I say that I want? You got to match your business and your lifestyle ambition up, because if you don't, you'll find yourself very frustrated. Click the link in my, I'll put that up there as a reminder. I'll put that up there as a reminder because, what was it? So G, when did you do your first online program? First one. 5 years ago. So I remember like it was yesterday. It was in a group chat, right? And G was telling us about his program, and it would never fail. Every time I got on Instagram, I see G sitting in his whip, talking about the online program. Hey, you trying to get fit, you trying to get right, click the link in my bio, hop in the DMs, I'll send you the link. And G was guerrilla marketing. He was hustling, right? He was going hard, right? But it made me think about something today when I think about how much his business has evolved. And what it made me think about is everybody thinks they need so many fancy bells and whistles to get started, right? All G had was a Word document, could have used somebody else's computer, right? PayPal, so somebody could send the money to him. A platform to market it, which was Instagram at the time, right? And that's all he really needed to grow this program that is now literally the largest online, I don't want to steal his thunder, he got a lot of thunder, but I don't want to steal it, which is literally the largest online fitness program today, right? But he started with what he had. So when you start your business, ask yourself, what are the bare bones resources I need? I need a way to get paid. I need a way to distribute it. He sent the program out via email, I'm assuming, right? What else do you need? You need a way to market it. There's a lot of free ways to market it. That's why we're all here. It's talking about social media, right? And so just understand what are the bare essentials that I need to make my business work. What do you need to grow your business? So here's the key, because the last thing you want to do is grow this big, massive thing and then not be able to sustain it. You know what's worse than not getting enough customers for your business? Anybody know? Getting too many and not being able to handle it. Losing your credibility, right? So you got to make sure you're forward thinking, okay, now that I am growing, what do I need to do to automate my business? What type of infrastructure do I need? What type of people do I need? What type of systems do I need, right? Start to quantify all of those things, right? Determining your pricing structure. Now, most people would probably think like this is the first step, right? I got a business, I got a product, how much does it cost? But it's not the first thing. The reason why it's step 5 is because you want to make sure that you've already thought through the other previous steps, because now you have a tangible way to understand how much revenue your business needs to bring in. 1, you've identified what the ideal lifestyle looks like. There's a dollar amount attached to that. 2, you've identified what it's going to cost you to run your business. There's a dollar amount attached to that. 3, you've identified what it's going to take you to grow your business. There's a dollar amount attached to that. So your pricing structure shouldn't be just because Kyle is in the same industry and he's charging this. Your pricing structure should be based upon, number 1, the value you bring to the marketplace, and 2, what do you need to make your life work? What do you need to make your business grow? That's what your pricing structure should be based off of. So let's think about a service-based business or a product-based business. So a service-based business, right, meaning you're probably consulting, trading some of your time for a specific skill set. Now, what does that look like, right? So even though you're in business, you can't spend 100% of your time doing money-making activity. You should try to spend as much as you can, right? But if you have a client service model, let's just say in a week, if you're working 40 hours, half of that time you might be able to spend actually working with clients. However, 100% of the revenue that comes in has to take care of the whole business. So then you're able to backdoor into figuring out, all right, well, cool. I'm meeting with this amount of clients per day. I know my entire business needs to make this. How much do I need to charge my client? That's how you figure out what your pricing structure is, right? Same thing for a product, right? So how many units do I need to sell to bring in the desired revenue? Do you have a product that's only 50 bucks, 40 bucks? Cool. Now, once you know your income goal, because we've quantified it, how many of those do you need to sell? You might say, well, that's a lot. I might need to raise my price point. But again, your product or service is based on the income goals that you want to hit after you've quantified it. How does your product or service measure up to your competitors? Now, this is what everybody usually wants to do in the beginning. They want to go and see what Joe Blow down the street is doing. How much is he selling it for? How much does it cost? But the problem is, if you do that on the front end, what's going to happen is you're going to get lost in the sauce. You're going to lose sight of your dream, your goals, and your vision, because all you're doing is comparing yourself to what somebody else is doing. So you should go through all the steps of what do you want? What should your business be? What should your pricing structure be? And then you go see what's happening in the marketplace, right? Here's the question you want to ask yourself. So, okay, cool. Well, now that I found somebody similar in the industry, is my product more than theirs? Okay, or is my product more than theirs? If it is, am I delivering the same amount of value? Or am I delivering more value? If my product costs less than theirs, could I raise my price? Right? But you would use that as a benchmark, but you've already at least quantified what your minimum price has to be to make sure that it's working. You're not just arbitrarily choosing. All right, create a plan. So you cannot improve what you don't measure. Mind if I see this cup real quick? Right, so if they say, in order to be healthy, you got to drink 100 ounces of water a day. 100 ounces of water a day. How would I know what 100 ounces of water was if I didn't have a way to measure it? We all know that there's 8 ounces in a cup, so I can easily now measure my success throughout the day. So if you want to be successful in your business, you have to have a plan to measure it against to see how you're tracking, right? Does that make sense? So you have to measure your progress. You have to have a plan to measure it against. All right, now, so we talked a lot about the business side and leading up to it, and there's a reason why I led up to that before talking about social media first. Because a lot of people want to be influencers because they think they're going to take some pretty pictures, people are going to send them some free merchandise, and then everything's going to be good, and eventually they're going to get paid for it. But that's not what it's about. You don't own Instagram. You own a business. You leverage Instagram to scale your business. Is there some ancillary benefits that can come from being an influencer or being a person of influence? Absolutely. But you don't want to lose sight of the fact that you don't own the platform, right? So you want to make sure that you're scaling your business, but I do want to talk about how it translates to social media. So we talked about understanding your time, right? We talked about understanding your pricing structure. So if you're building a business online and you're leveraging social media to do it, then guess what? You need to know how much it takes you, how much time it takes you to put into that post, or how much time it takes you to put into social media, so that you can know how to quantify what you're worth. I remember my wife, she's an influencer, right? And so when she first started out, she was getting a bunch of free stuff. And then at some point, she had to start to quantify, well, what am I worth? Because I'm getting this free stuff, but this brand is getting people to actually buy it, right? So you got to start to quantify what your worth is based upon that. Actually, go back for a second. There's a point I want to touch on. This quote actually changed my entire perspective on how I view working with people. So, you know, Dave mentioned that I'm a man of the people, which I do agree with wholeheartedly. And so about 5 years ago, when I launched my Make Sense to Me site as a blog, it was just a blog at the time, I was meeting with the guy, and he said, who you serve does not have to be who pays you. Who you serve does not have to be who pays you. It's our innate instinct to try to monetize the end user. If he's following me, let me send him a DM, let me try to sell him this shirt, let me try to sell him this service. But guess what? There's a lot of brands out here now who want your audience. They want your audience. So you don't necessarily have to monetize the end user. You can serve them, and what you want from them is their attention. Why do you think they pay so much money to have a commercial at the Super Bowl? Because there's so much attention on that particular channel at that time. So you don't have to monetize the end user with everything you do, because there's other brands that will pay you. So think about how powerful this is. The people who used to sell to us are now competing with us, right? The people who used to sell to us are now competing with us. Why? Because we have a platform just like they do. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have YouTube, we have a platform just like they do to market directly to consumers. So now the big companies of the world are competing with us. Little old me, Kyle, you. How powerful is that, right? The trust of one leads to the acceptance of many. So the reason why these brands are starting to finally understand the power of influencer marketing is because they know that they can't get to your audience without you, because your audience trusts you. Remember the like, no, trust formula. Your audience trusts you, right? So that brand knows, I better get connected to this influencer because they are the ones that have the attention and the ear of that audience, right? The trust of one leads to the acceptance of many. People are selling better than brands. It is so important right now to build a personal brand, because there was a day and age when we don't know who's behind Macy's. I mean, you can probably Google it, but I don't know who's behind Macy's, right? You don't know who's behind these big institutions, these big companies. The reason why social media is so powerful, because if I see a brand online that I like, I might be able to DM the founder. I might be able to DM the owner. How powerful is that? That's completely revolutionary. And so people are selling better than brands nowadays, so it's so important to build a personal brand. So she didn't know I was going to do this, so it's probably going to give me some brownie points. So I want to do a little case study on my wife. And her name is Majesty, so if you see her in public, don't call her Born Majestic because it's kind of weird. Her name is Majesty. All right, so case study, the power of a personal brand. So we were actually reflecting the other day when she had 1,000 followers on Instagram. She was excited. She screenshotted it. We still actually have the screenshot back when Instagram was kind of ugly, didn't really look cool like it does now. We screenshotted it, and now she has 24,000 active and engaged followers, right? And she does paid collaborations with some of the biggest brands in the world. I just put a few up there, right? And so the power in that was about 2012, 2013, she did it right. My wife, she knows how to do something. So she had a website, and she was getting models for every photo shoot. Every photo shoot, paid models. I was like, man, you got it. And we weren't married at the time, so I couldn't say but too much. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you got, so every photo shoot, paid models. And eventually, she was like, man, this is getting costly. I got to figure something out. And then, you know, being that I think my wife is so attractive, I said, babe, why don't you just be your own model? You know what I'm saying? Why don't you be your own brand? And she said, what? Because mind you, this is 2012. This is before the influencer thing was really a thing. And so she was like, I'm not doing that. I just want to own this boutique. I want to buy these clothes. I want to market them, and that's it. And so eventually, she made the leap, and what she did was she started marketing her own stuff. The reason why I had the foresight to tell her that is I said, let's look at your Instagram. So if you post a stock photo of your merchandise with the little white backdrop, you know how it looks on the website, you get a few likes. If you post a photo with the model wearing your stuff, you get a few more likes. If you post an unrelated photo of yourself, because at this time she wasn't doing anything for her brand, the likes and engagement were out of the water. I said, Madge, look, people like you. People like you. How much will your brand grow if you become the face of it? And lo and behold, 24,000 engaged followers later, thousands of dollars for one Instagram post later, she's crushing it. And I'm super proud of her because back then, we had no idea. Like, I can't even take credit for it. We had no idea that it was going to transcend into this. But it's just, I'm a numbers guy, remember? Keep count. You got to keep count. And I saw her post, and I was like, when you post a picture of yourself, quadruple the engagement. So why not be your own brand? The beauty of that, it all becomes full circle. We're all guilty of this. How many of you guys have stumbled across an Instagram profile that you've never seen? They got like 50,000 followers. You're like, damn, who are they? They got to be somebody important. You don't know who they are, but because they got 50,000 followers, you're like, man, they got to be somebody. We've all done that, right? Right? So the beauty of that, what happens is when you have your own brand and you have your own business, guess what? Now, even though you still sell something, you're attracting more people who you can potentially sell to. It all comes back to that know, like, trust formula. Get as many people as possible to know you. The best person doesn't win. The person who is most known wins. So I want to leave you with this one thing, something I wrote down the end of last year once I started to get serious about creating content. So by the end of the year, I'm going to have that swipe up. Watch, I'm going to have it. I'm going to have that swipe up on Instagram, okay? All right. You will never help the people you want to help and change the world if they don't know you exist. They won't know you exist if you don't get their attention. You won't get their attention unless you produce quality and valuable content. You won't keep their attention unless that content is quality, valuable, and consistent over long periods of time. With time builds credibility. With credibility comes trust. With trust comes influence. And with influence, you can change the world. Thank you.